Well, not much separates these two teams. Cincinnati Bengals making the trip north here to Cleveland. So much history between these two organizations. The rivalry dormant for so long, with the Browns having been down for as long as they have, but they are a franchise whose arrow is trending upward. Marvin Lewis, Greg Williams, what a run it's been for Williams since taking over as the interim head coach. Hugh Jackson, who is across the field from him today. They still remain very close. But an emotional day with Hugh back in Cleveland for the first time since he was let go here by the organization in late October. And you've said it, you rarely see such a sustained run of success from an interim head coach. It's been some kind of a run here under Williams.
Yeah, Spiro, I've actually been a part of a situation where a head coach was fired and we did have an interim head coach. And you don't get better and you don't have more fun as the season has gone on. The Browns have been completely opposite.
Browns mathematically eliminated from the playoffs last night, but it's been a long time since they were alive heading into a Week 16. This is Jabril Peppers as he's able to cross the 25, get out close to the 30-yard line. You see the flag thrown from behind the play. Bengals pointing in Browns' direction. Our referee today is Tony Carenti as he talks it over with his colleagues.
Personal foul, double team Brock, receiving team. This penalty be assessed half the distance to the goal. First down.
All right, that'll set the Browns back a little bit further. So here's Baker Mayfield. 5 and 6 is their starting quarterback, as we said at the top, leads all rookies in basically every major category: completion percentage, passing yards, touchdown passes. In fact, 7th most touchdown throws by a rookie quarterback in league history. And the energy and the juice that this kid has brought to this city has been incredible.
Yeah, one thing to note is how aggressive they've been throwing the ball down the field. And in their last 2 games against the Broncos and the Panthers, shots early.
Mayfield goes play action to the air to get the party started. That pass is through the hands of the intended receiver, the tight end, David Njoku. I would have liked to have had that one back. Last time these two teams met, Week 12, Cleveland scored a touchdown on their first 4 drives of the day. Arch, they jumped out to that 28-0 lead.
Yeah, the important thing, when you go back and watch that game, for Marvin Lewis and his defense, they had no pressure. Mayfield had all day, and he really did a nice job as finding his receivers as they uncovered. For the Bengals, if you don't want them to drive down the field and score in their first 4 possessions, they've got to get more pressure up front and get to Mayfield to throw the ball before he's ready.
So Freddie Kitchens, their offensive coordinator, taking over after Todd Haley was fired. A little misdirection play here. Duke Johnson. First down, running more. Breaking tackles out past the 30-yard line, and his knee down there. As Vontaze Burfict among the chasers for Cincinnati. What a play by Johnson, who had that big year, Adam, last year. His production down considerably this season, but reminding everyone just how dangerous he is.
Yeah, earlier this season, they were really frustrated because they felt that they didn't get the ball in his hands enough, that he was one of his best playmakers. Now he's going to see about 3 or 4 runs a game, maybe 4 or 5 passes a game, but what a play on 1st and long to pick it up and give Baker Mayfield 1st and 10.
And Johnson really was their best offensive player last year, but this year had only 17 touches through the first 5 weeks of the season. Obviously many more weapons at their disposal this season. Here is Nick Chubb, the rookie running back, tackled by Vontaze Burfict, who's back in the lineup today after missing the last 2 games, recovering from the concussion. And what a run, Adam, it's been for this kid Chubb, taking over as the starter Week 7 after Carlos Hyde was traded away to Jacksonville. And during that stretch, 3rd most rushing yards in the league.
Yeah, and he's another guy. We just talked about Duke Johnson not getting the ball early. It seemed like early, every time Chubb got the ball, he was breaking off big runs, but they never gave it to him. Now that Carlos Hyde is not the featured back on this team, it's allowed Chubb to grow, and he's turning into a star.
So the defensive alignment for the Bengals. Jordan Evans today out with an ankle injury, and so Brandon Bell making his first career start. Geno Atkins coming with the heat. Atkins Pro Bowl bound for the 7th time in his career, putting together another terrific season. He passes Lamar Parrish now for 2nd most ever defensive Pro Bowl nods by a Bengal player.
Yeah, 3rd down is something. When you look at the Bengals earlier in the season, they are historically one of the worst 3rd down defenses in history. But since Marvin Lewis has taken over here calling the plays, they have been much better and are coming off their best third down afternoon of the season against the Oakland Raiders.
Where does Mayfield go here on 3rd and 5? That pass over the middle is caught, but Johnson is short of the first down marker. So the Cincinnati defense is Jesse Bates, the rookie safety, making a terrific play. A much maligned defense earlier in the season. They've made a lot of strides. As looks like Greg Williams will keep his offense on the field, and why not?
Yeah, and a lot was made of that choice last week against the Broncos late, where he chose to go for it on 4th and 1 to essentially seal the game. They didn't get that. But one of the things that he said is, we are going to go for it always on 4th and 1. Now, I don't know if they're always going to go for it. You certainly got to watch for them trying to draw you offside, but he is playing to win.
4th and 1, run play, Chubb, first down. There is a marker thrown, so we'll see the call here from Tony Correnti. If it stands, it's a fresh set of downs for Cleveland.
Illegal shift, offense. The wide receiver never reset. 5-yard penalty, remains 4th down.
All right, frustrating for Greg Williams. Well, he did his part, but the illegal shift penalty would get a jersey number from Correnti, but that wipes away the first down, and now Williams will send out his punter.
Yeah, really kind of disappointing because Nick Chubb had a heck of an effort. Geno Atkins had a chance to tackle him at the line of scrimmage. He was able to break that tackle and pick up the first down, but the penalty brings it back.
Britton Colquitt selected as a second Pro Bowl alternate this week to Alex Erickson, one of the top return men in the NFL. Signals fair catch, and that is where Jeff Driscoll and the Bengals will have it when we come back. Browns-Bengals, early stages, CBS. Well, this has been an interesting little dynamic for Cincinnati since Hugh Jackson has rejoined the staff. There's Marvin Lewis. When the defense will come off the field, Marvin will go over to the bench, spend some time with him, and then Hugh Jackson kind of becomes their quasi-head coach. So Hugh paying attention to the field for a few moments until Marvin is ready to come back. Just an interesting little dynamic between these two men who are so close. And Jackson's such an invaluable part of the staff for a second time. Here is Driscoll. You know the guy can run. First down to get it going for Cincinnati. Driscoll, one of the top athletes in terms of quarterbacks around the league. Today, only his 4th career start. Took over for Andy Dalton week 13 after Dalton went down with that thumb injury. It's been a struggle, but Driscoll did get his first win last week.
And when we talked to him, I asked about it. You know, we know about his athletic ability, and I said, don't you think that I expected you to run a little bit more? And he said, you know, I'm really trying to play the game within the pocket, but I think he needs to use his athleticism a little bit more in this game to get away from that Cleveland defense.
Driscoll's run gets him out past the 37. First down to give here to Mixon, who begins the day as the leading rusher in the AFC. Consider the fact that he missed the 2 games earlier in the season after the light scope on his knee. He has quietly put together, as you said, a terrific season despite Adam limited touches the first half of the season.
He really has, especially when you consider that, you know, some of his best games have been without Andy Dalton and without A.J. Green and with a rookie quarterback, when defenses know that, you know, he's going to be the guy to kind of be featured and carry the load. He's going to see a lot of 8-man fronts from Greg Williams as they try and stop the Cincinnati rushing attack.
From the gun, Mixon again. Mixon, by the way, just went over 1,000 yards, becomes the 11th Bengal running back in league franchise history to get to that number. As Mixon will come off heel, Myles Garrett, who is headed to his first Pro Bowl on the tackle, and it will be 3rd and 4 for Cincinnati. What a season Garrett has had. Still chasing the NFL sack title. Hard pressed to get there. Tied for 6th in the league with Khalil Mack. 3rd most by Brown in terms of sacks in a single season. 3rd and 4. Driscoll, lead option, trying to run for it. Needed the 47. We'll see where the officials spot the football. Jabril Peppers, who had maybe the best game of his young career last week, and Myles Garrett combining on the tackle.
Well, this is the reason why he's been named to the Pro Bowl. You know about his pass rush ability, but he's also excellent at defending the run. Look at how he spins off of the block by the tight end. And as they try and use the speed of Driscoll to get outside, Garrett is able to flatten down the line and bring him down to the ground.
They are short of the first down, so Cincinnati will punt. Garrett, by the way, the first Browns defensive end selected to the Pro Bowl since Rob Burnett. All the way back in '95, fake punt. Marvin Lewis rolling the dice. And it pays off for Cincinnati. Clayton Fedulum, who's had some big moments for this Bengals team this season, on the little sneak. Had him fooled. He picks up 7 and a fresh set of downs.
Really a tough look to run this fake against. Look at all the Browns defense. This is a punt-safe formation where they're there specifically to guard against the fake. And so that's a risky play to run that ball inside with 2 stand-up linebackers, but he's able to bow his head and power those legs and pick it up.
Fedulum also named a Pro Bowl alternate. What a big moment early in this game to get the football back to Driscoll and the offense. 1st and 10 from inside Browns territory. Driscoll under pressure. Gets it away. Somehow the pass is caught. That's Giovanni Bernard. Bobbled it and caught it as he's able to squeeze it. And Cincinnati averts disaster. The heat coming from Demarius Randall.
Yeah, one area young quarterbacks have to account for is pressure. So this is a 5-man protection. And what that means is that there is no back or no tight end to block the extra blitzer. So Driscoll has to know that the ball has to come out extremely quickly. They have one more receiver. If the ball comes out, it's going to be a positive play, but he hesitated, and the Browns made the play.
On 2nd and 6, this is Mixon again, and we talked to Driscoll this week. You still get the sense that he's still getting acclimated, to everything. His game preparation during the week, and certainly how he's seeing things and breaking things down in games.
Look, we all know it's the hardest position, one of the, if not most hardest position in sports to play. It's not easy for anybody, let alone a rookie here coming in at the end of the season and without 2 of your best wide receivers. So, he's doing all he can. He's done some good things, but like all young quarterbacks, still a lot of things to work on.
What does he dial up here on 3rd and 4 from just outside the Cleveland 42? Here they come again, and Driscoll is sacked. Football loose. Cincinnati has recovered. Joe Schobert nearly untouched, right up the gut.
Well, not a blitz. Joe Schobert is a linebacker, so they blitz Schobert, but then they're going to drop out here. So this is still a 4-man rush, and that needs to be picked up inside. Because of the bluff, the offensive line, the guards in the center blew that protection, and they were able to get to Driscoll before he could get the ball out. So a really cleverly designed pressure from Greg Williams to get off the 3rd down.
So the Bengals unable to capitalize on the successful fake punt. And then the fair catch signaled here by Antonio Callaway after a 35-yard punt. Schobert making it happen for Cleveland.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Macy's. Verizon, the best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network. And by Jaguar, the art of performance.
Well, it was 4 weeks ago that these 2 teams met in Cincinnati. That awkward moment after the game. Hugh Jackson going in for the hug. Baker just kept it to the handshake. Had those pointed comments the day after called Hugh fake. And so the little tension between those 2 continues as Mayfield back on the field. We actually asked to speak to Hugh about it. He has politely declined most media requests. No surprise, but any time you sit with Baker Mayfield, you can just sense his intensity, and you're either with him or you're against him.
Yeah, all football, all the time. And as far as a leadership standpoint, that's exactly what you want. This football team is kind of taking his page and running with it. The only thing that matters for this Cleveland football team is who was in the locker room, what they're doing, and they've been extremely focused here in the last 6 games of the season.
Hard snap count, could be a free play for Mayfield, and Cleveland high pass. It is caught. What a catch by Rashard Higgins. Going airborne for a 17-yard completion. There is a marker on the field behind the line of scrimmage back at the Cleveland 12. We'll see if it's on Dunlap and the Bengals.
Offside, defense, number 96. This penalty is declined. The result of the play is a 1st down.
You see Dunlap top of your picture. Mayfield sensing the free play, and what a catch here out of my Higgins.
Yeah, quarterback 101, you know you have a free play outside, but how about, it's not just Mayfield playing well. Everybody has started to step up, including these wide receivers. That is a young wide receiving core for the Browns.
It sets up the play action here. Dangerous pass by Mayfield, nearly intercepted right through the hands of Jesse Bates, the young rookie who's been one of the few bright spots. That pass was intended for Jarvis Landry.
As good as Mayfield has been this year, and especially in the second half of the season, I thought Denver did a really nice job last week, especially when they played man coverage. Now, the Browns had seen a lot of zone coverage in the 2 previous games, but Denver played a lot of man coverage, and they brought a lot of man cover blitzes, and I thought they made Baker get the ball out of his hands before he wanted to. Looks like the same strategy here for the Bengals.
You see how good Mayfield has been in his last 2 games here in Cleveland. As the rookie Chubb, he's going nowhere, suffocating defensive front by Cincinnati. And there's been some jawing. We saw it. Vontaze Burfict exchange some words with Baker Mayfield. Of course, Burfict mixes it up with pretty much everyone on the other team, but a lot of intensity between these 2 teams.
Yeah, and Burfict coming back after missing a couple games from his concussion, and has been a little inconsistent this year with injuries and just haven't quite been himself when he's been out there. But today he's going back to playing his natural will linebacker spot. The last 2 times he's been the middle linebacker, but he's back to will this week, and he's playing much more instinctually.
Yeah, that's because Jordan Evans is out with an ankle injury today. Hardy Nickerson making the start at the Mike linebacker position. That pass is caught. Higgins off and running. There is a marker thrown back at the Cincinnati 40. Bates finally getting him out of bounds. If it stands, it's a 55-yard pass play.
Well, I think Drake Kirkpatrick, he just stopped. So he could be trying to make a case that this was offensive pass interference and a push-off. But watch Kirkpatrick, he just stops.
Pass interference. Offense, number 81. 10-yard penalty, and repeat, 3rd down.
I think Browns fans pretty frustrated right there, and based off of that replay, you see the left arm just a tad bit on the shoulder. It was extremely minor, but that just caused Kirkpatrick to stop his feet and allow Higgins to come down with the ball.
So that wipes away a 55-yard play. So already they've had a 1st down, and now this big offensive play wiped away due to penalty.
As a defensive guy, I'm never going to really complain about more offensive pass interferences, but I just think in general, especially as of late, they're starting to call OPI and pass interference a little too tightly. I'd like to see them all just be able to let them play a little bit out there. It's a little too fine for my taste right now.
You do tend to complain a little bit too much, I think, for the defense, but I'm with you on that one. That pass from Mayfield intended for Landry is dropped uncharacteristically by Landry, who, of course, led the NFL in catches last year, over 100, and kind of looked off before he was able to squeeze it.
Well, so far the story of this game, at least for the Cleveland offense, is the penalties that put them in long yardage situations that they haven't been able to overcome. I think you tip your hat to Marvin Lewis's defense that wanted to get off to a fast start here against this offense, and so far they've been able to get off the field.
Tony Correnti coming together with his colleagues again. Looks like they've got everything figured out. All right. So they will mark it at the 25-yard line, and a ragged offensive start for the Browns continues. Britton Colquitt, a couple of punts placed inside his opponent's 20 last week, has been terrific. The second Pro Bowl alternate here is Erickson, unable to find any daylight. Excellent coverage down the field. Tavier Thomas leading the charge for Cleveland. 46 yards on the punt. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Scoreless between Cleveland and Cincinnati as the Bengals try to revenge that disheartening loss to these Browns on their home turf 4 weeks ago in Cincinnati. Here's Driscoll and company as they begin from their 30. Little misdirection here. John Ross once again in a starting role without A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd. Arch, I want to go back to that Higgins OPI penalty. You're even more emphatic it wasn't a call against them. Shouldn't have been.
I just thought that there's really not a lot there. Kirkpatrick with really a nice jam coming off the line. And then as Rashard Higgins gets behind him, you know, there's maybe a little left arm there, but certainly in my eyes, there wasn't enough of a push-off, and that takes a big play and a touchdown off the board for the Browns.
A huge call early in this game, wiped away a 55-yard connection between Higgins and Mayfield as Mixon is blown up. Jannard Avery, the rookie 5th-round pick out of Memphis, a loss of 6.
Well, Bill Lazor, the offensive coordinator, trying some outside runs to get away from the inside of that defense, and just, what a play right there by Avery. It was a rookie out of Memphis, more of a pass rusher, but man, that's the way you get upfield and get penetration and shut down the outside run.
Chris Smith was also there. There's Bill Lazor.
Now look, everybody, Greg Williams' defense showing a 0 look with no safeties back, but they drop out.
Driscoll under pressure, somehow escapes. Driscoll with a magic trick thrown on the run, and it's incomplete. But how did Driscoll escape? Joe Schobert had him dead to rights. And this guy proving he is tough to bring down to the turf.
Well, they're going to come with this pressure all game long. So far, the Bengals have not been able to deal with pressure. Schobert wrapping around. They've got a 2-on-1 in the back, and that is pretty unbelievable. I don't know how Driscoll gets outside of that. You had Myles Garrett and Joe Schobert, 2 of the better defensive players on this defense, and he gets out.
So 4 possessions between the 2 teams, 4 punts. There's Kevin Huber with a booming kick. Peppers are played from the 20. And good coverage down the field by Cincinnati's special teams. 50 yards in the punt, 6 on the return by Peppers. That Cleveland defense with Chris Smith doing some early work.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Chevy. Chevy has earned J.D. Power awards across cars, trucks, and SUVs. And by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil.
Well, these Browns fans certainly in the holiday spirit. Happy holidays from Cleveland. Overcast Sunday, temperature in the upper 30s just off Lake Erie, First Energy Stadium. The Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals meeting here in Week 16. Spiro Ditas, Adam Marchelletta, rest of our CBS crew here from Cleveland. 3rd offensive possession for Baker Mayfield and the Browns, and another errant throw as Mayfield has been a little bit off target. But you watch his steady progression this season. It had been evident really going back early in the year with Hugh Jackson, but since Freddie Kitchens took over for Todd Haley Week 9, Mayfield has gone to an even higher level.
Yeah, that's really pretty amazing. Look at those numbers, and what I like about the offense is that they're throwing the ball down the field, and as you watch Mayfield, he is not afraid to just rip it in there. If he sees the back of the defensive back or linebacker's numbers and coverage, you can expect that ball to be fit in a tight window.
Here's Nick Chubb breaking the initial tackle. Chubb finding the edge, so dangerous in the flat. Sean Williams finally able to force him out of bounds. A 22-yard sprint from the rookie 2nd-round pick out of Georgia. Cleveland first down.
Just his ability to have explosive runs. Remember, he had a 40-yard run late in the game last week against the Denver Broncos. And Nick Vigil, he gets caught peeking inside. He's responsible for the outside gap. But you see how Chubb, he set him up inside and then used the explosiveness to get outside the edge for a big play.
That is 3rd 100-yard rushing game of the season last week, 53 of which came on their final drive, as they were able to win at Denver and then their long losing streak against the Broncos. Here is Landry. Some more misdirection by Kitchens and this offense. What a moment for them last week, and for Chubb, who, you look at where he was early in the season, really buried behind Carlos Hyde. Very minimal touches through the first 3-4 weeks of the season. Then, of course, Hyde jettisoned in the trade to Jacksonville, and since then, since Week 7, 3rd most rushing yards in the league for the rookie.
Yeah, he's able to rip off huge runs and get the explosive plays. He's great after contact, and he's a north-south runner. He's patient behind the line of scrimmage, but he loves to get north and south, and a guy that you've got to deal with if you're a defensive player.
Here he is again, the 35th overall pick in the draft. And starting to put a dent in the Cincinnati defense. He picks up 7 more. Nick Vigil on the tackle.
Look how he's playing the game with Vigil. He's trying to beat Vigil to the outside, and Vigil gets caught inside. He can't see over the offensive lineman, and he's waiting, and then all of a sudden he's too fast. He gets outside the edge, a little bit of a stiff arm, and another productive play on first down.
Hard to believe the kid only had 10 total touches through 5 weeks of the season. But so he has added such a dynamic element to this offense run by Kitchens. Once again, play action from Mayfield. He's got all day to throw. Fires over the middle and completes. That's the tight end Njoku. Well played, however, by Vigil, who gets him right around the 35-yard line. And it will be 2nd and 6. That could have been a lot worse for Cincinnati.
Yep, but well covered here by this safety. And as Mayfield lets this play develop, it starts out as a block, and then he's just going to leak out. You see, Mayfield wants to go deep, and then Njoku, after he blocks, he's able to beat Vontaze Burfict. And Mayfield, because of the protection, has the time to find his outlet receiver. But this area, part of the field, is really where the Cleveland Browns love to take shots at the end zone.
Both offenses struggling mostly in that first quarter, but Cleveland starting to cook here behind Mayfield. End of one in Cleveland. No score, Bengals Browns. Nice to have you with us on a cool winter day here in Cleveland. Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta. I noticed your tie this morning.
You like that?
I did like it.
One of the joys of fatherhood is when your 4-year-old daughter gets you the old Christmas tie present. So a beautiful tie picked out by my daughter Piper, and here we are.
It's lovely. She's 4. She has better fashion taste than you do already.
Yes, she does, and she should.
No surprise there. Mayfield to get the second quarter started. To the air. That is Higgins, who had the big catch wiped away due to a penalty earlier. He picks up a dozen here. And this Cleveland drive, impressive, will continue. Oh, we do want to mention that the Browns listed their offensive line coach Bob Wiley on the injury report Friday as doubtful, something you certainly don't see. Wiley, for anyone who watched the very colorful HBO docuseries on Hard Knocks during the offseason, got to know him very well. Such a colorful personality. He fractured his ankle at practice on Thursday, had to undergo surgery on Thursday night. He's actually still in the hospital watching the game from his room. Greg Robinson, who you just saw there, says that they will give him the game ball if they can win this game. But Wiley's such a beloved member of this Cleveland coaching staff and this organization, and we are certainly thinking about him, wishing him a speedy recovery. That is Higgins on the catch, and it will be 2nd and 6. So the first 2 possessions for the Browns, a bit of a struggle, but Mayfield starting to find some synergy and chemistry here with Higgins and his wide receivers. Mayfield, the 12th start of his burgeoning career after Cleveland and John Dorsey made him the first overall pick. From the gun here, pocket starts to collapse, fakes, and then runs out of bounds. Still well short of the first down marker. Nick Vigil, who missed a chunk of the season between weeks 6 and 12 with that knee sprain, was there to force him out of bounds. And he's a part of this Cincinnati defense that really, the first 9 weeks under Terrell Austin was historically bad. They've been much better after Austin was fired and Lewis took the reins.
They really have. It's shown up in third downs. Their passing defense is much more sound. There's less big plays, and his main job was to kind of simplify and take away the gray area, and they've been much better here in the last 5 or 6 games.
Oh, in Austin's defense, they have been decimated by injuries this season. There's something he couldn't overcome. That catch by Johnson, trying to stretch for it. We'll see where the officials mark it. Appears to be about a half-yard short. Well done by this kid Bates, who is really developing into a player. The rookie, 2nd-round pick out of Wake Forest. And you know what these fans want Greg Williams to do?
Is there any doubt whatsoever that watch the quarterback sneak, that the Bengals are lined up for it? You've got 3 players lined up on top of the center and both guards to take away the sneak, and Mayfield's going to call an audible.
You like them going for it?
Absolutely. Why not?
Williams rolls the dice again. Mayfield all day to throw. First down catch. Landry. And he is fired up. It's a pickup of 6.
Well, similar to where they were in their last game they played. Baker Mayfield was able to buy time. He has no pressure. And then as he escapes the pocket, like he does so often, he's able to spot Landry, who beats Denard over the middle. So the Bengals, they've done a good job so far on third down, but they cannot allow Mayfield to extend the play, especially down here in the red zone.
Here is Chubb, who just got his feet tangled up as he is just inside the 5. Now, you mentioned Mayfield at the line of scrimmage with the audible, of course, the big play late on their go-ahead score last week in Denver. That's been the area where he has really shown some incredible improvement. You don't see that mastery from a kid who's so young at that position.
Yeah, he's starting to play the game. The one thing that really stands out just from watching him, not being around him at practice, is just his football IQ and his awareness, his knowledge of where all other 21 players are on the field. And that's a special attribute you don't always see from any quarterback, let alone a young one.
On 2nd and goal, Cincinnati able to get Chubb short of the end zone. It was that audible in the early part of the 4th quarter in Denver last week. They had called a run play, did Kitchens, and then at the line of scrimmage, Mayfield saw something he didn't like, switched out to the pass, and then found Callaway for what turned out to be the go-ahead score. You saw Burfict come in a little bit late.
Yeah, that's
no flags.
With his reputation, I'm a little surprised that he got away with this one. But the Browns have been so good in the red zone, and a lot of that is because of Mayfield with an exceptional touchdown to interception ratio. You've got to make sure that you contain him. Do not allow him to extend this play, because that's where he's at his best.
See how good they've been under Williams in the red zone. That pass is caught. Njoku for the touchdown.
Well, just another great throw in the red zone. Njoku on Sean Williams, one-on-one, and that ball is just too high. It's put in the perfect place, and as Williams tries to turn inside, the ball is too high, and Njoku comes down with a touchdown. I mean, we talk about Mayfield and a young quarterback being so good in the red zone. That is so rare, and he's just been outstanding.
There's terrific ball placement by Mayfield, putting it only where Njoku can get to it. 4th touchdown catch of the season as Mayfield gets the Browns on the board first. The big athletic David Njoku going airborne, and it's 7-0 Browns. Now look at Baker Mayfield continuing to climb the ladder. Most passing touchdowns ever in league history by a rookie quarterback. Adam, some pretty good names on that list.
Yeah, he's sitting there at 22. 5 more, and he could break the record. And I got to tell you, they might have a shot at getting that record as well as he's played.
He's already thrown it 14 times in this game, as the Bengals will have it from the 25. Well, it's considered the league's most prestigious honor. The Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award recognizes players whose passion to impact lives extends beyond the game, leaving a positive legacy in their communities. Bengals nominee Carlos Dunlap and his Carlos Dunlap Foundation focuses on anti-bullying amongst children. And the Browns nominee Christian Kirksey and his Kirkoland Foundation provides opportunities for local kids in need. 2 terrific men. This year's winner will be announced at NFL Honors the night before Super Bowl 53 right here on CBS. To learn all about this year's nominees, you can visit NFL.com/Man of the Year. Well done by both of those gentlemen, and 2 terrific players for these teams. Driscoll to the air. And a pass a little bit too high, intended for John Ross. And as if things weren't difficult enough for Driscoll, playing without A.J. Green, and now Tyler Boyd, who really had been their breakout star this year, done likely for the rest of the season with that MCL sprain, just doesn't have enough with the wide receivers.
But a great opportunity for number 15, John Ross. And you see the attempt to go downfield. They try to take advantage of his speed, and they've taken some shots down the field, but they just haven't been able to connect. And if there's one area that Bill Lazor, the offensive coordinator, wants to see from Driscoll, is be better and more accurate when he throws the ball downfield.
Bengals actually negative passing yards at this stage of the game. As Driscoll throws again, this time it's Mixon out of the backfield, and he loses yardage. Denzel Ward, who's back from his 2-game absence due to that concussion and is headed to the Pro Bowl, was there on the tackle. What a season this kid has had.
Really has. I mean, we've already talked about 2 great promising rookies on the offensive side of the ball, Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb, but how about Denzel Ward? I mean, for a rookie corner to come in here and get voted to the Pro Bowl really says a lot. And if the last 2 third downs were any indication, with all of the Browns defenders within 6 yards of the line of scrimmage, except pressure right here for Jeff Driscoll.
Browns coming hard again, and Driscoll is dumped. Avery for Cleveland. And the rookie now at 4.5 sacks in what has been a stellar rookie season.
Really has been a nice compliment to the other side of Myles Garrett. Genard Avery, he just beats the tackle with speed. Straight speed. And the right tackle, Kyle Kalis, gets his feet turned perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, and Avery with a big sack.
Well, not bad for a 5th-round pick. All part of what has turned out to be a terrific draft here by John Dorsey in Cleveland. Here is Peppers trying to weave his way through traffic. You see the marker thrown behind the play. 51-yard punt, 10 on the return by Peppers.
Excuse me, Kyle Kalis plays for the Cleveland Browns. That was Bobby Hart, the right tackle, that got beat, but an excellent speed rush off the edge from the rookie outside linebacker.
Nothing Hart could do on that play. Here's Correnti.
During the return of the kick, holding, receiving team number 27. 10-yard penalty, first down, timeout.
That's Tavier Thomas as these frustrating Cleveland penalties continue to pile up.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Jared. Dare to be devoted. Subway, now delivering to your front door. And by Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you.
Now, what a couple of drafts it's been for John Dorsey, his staff, and this Cleveland front office.
Unreal.
Myles Garrett last year, Denzel Ward, the 4th overall pick. But hard to believe there was actually some backlash. Of course, everyone clamoring for Bradley Chubb, but things have worked out. Here is Landry. He's going to throw it down the field. Has his man, and it's caught. It's Brashad Perriman. And how about that pass from Landry? 63 yards to Perriman.
We've seen, watch Perriman reverse and then all the way down the field. And Landry with all the time in the world. Look how much Landry pats this ball. And I thought he had a receiver open down here, but what a dime from Landry, showing off the left arm, and hits the Bengals with a huge play. Unbelievable execution from the veteran wide receiver.
That sets him up 1st and goal. Here is Chubb finding the edge. Chubb lunges end zone and appears to be just short. What a play by Denard. Barely able to keep him out of the end zone.
A one-on-one, you got to make that tackle outside by William Jackson, and the
good call.
Looks like the leg is down, out of bounds. But how about Chubb? One-on-one with the corner, William Jackson. He takes an angle to the inside leg. You've got to get up the field in front and to the outside leg, but Chubb showing the speed to get to the edge and almost is able to dive for the touchdown.
Still can't get over that pass by Landry. 2nd and goal. Little play action from Mayfield. Throws to the end zone. It's caught for the Browns. Touchdown. Darren Fells. And Mayfield squeezing it into a very tight space.
You know, I saw the exact same play a couple weeks ago. That play looked exactly like Patrick Mahomes. He was rolling out to his right. And just as you think there's nobody open, that he's got to throw this football away, he just casually kind of pauses and then just flicks his wrist. And then there's the ball right there on the sideline, and an excellent catch by Darren Fells. Unbelievable job in the red zone again by Mayfield, the Browns offense.
Well, Mayfield never needs any extra added motivation, but Hugh Jackson over on the other side is that extra point off the upright by Greg Joseph and no good. Mayfield, the franchise rookie record, 4 touchdowns in the first meeting with the Bengals. And what a start for him. 2nd touchdown pass of the day. It's all Cleveland. Now Baker Mayfield, 23rd touchdown pass, now tied with Andrew Luck and Dak Prescott, second most ever by an NFL rookie quarterback. And what a drive. Getting a little bit of an assist by Jarvis Landry with that incredible pass. Here's Erickson, and he is stuck right at the 20-yard line. Landry had one pass completion previous to that throw. It was a 9-yard gain. This one went for 63.
Well, my telestrator is on the fritz, so I'm going to have to talk you through it. Perriman in motion. Goes all the way across, and the Bengals, they spot it. Sean Williams is in good shape, but that's the speed of Perriman. As soon as Williams turns his head to look back for the football, that's where you saw the separation, and what a gorgeous throw by that man right there, number 80, Jarvis Landry. Well done.
A lot of talk about Landry's production down a little bit, but he has brought such a presence to this franchise and his team in that locker room as Mixon able to wiggle free. Bengals desperate need of some offense here to get Driscoll some help. And Mixon obliges a pickup of 15 and a much-needed Bengals first down.
Boy, so important here on this series especially for the Bengals to pick up this first down. First play, great drive starter, and you see Joe Mixon, when he gets to that next level, he is so smooth in the way he runs and his ability to make tacklers miss. It's just getting to that second level has been the issue for the Bengals offensive line.
Mixon over the 1,000-yard mark earlier in the half if you've just joined us. What a career he has in front of him as he continues to lead the conference in rushing and falls forward to the Bengals' 40-yard line. Wednesday on CBS, join the All-Star celebration honoring Reba McEntire, Cher, Wayne Shorter, Philip Glass, and the creators of Hamilton. Gloria Estefan hosts the Kennedy Center Honors Wednesday, 8/7 Central, only CBS. So excited to have you with us. Boy, this town juiced up about these Cleveland Browns, even though they are no longer in playoff contention. As of last night, Tennessee's victory, the first December sellout here in nearly a decade, as that pass by Driscoll is incomplete. Multiple flags flying. We'll get the call here from Correnti and his crew.
Uzama and Denzel Ward kind of ran into each other as
Pass interference, defense number 21. The ball is spotted at the spot of the foul and an automatic first down.
Uzama is going out for a kind of a fake block and release, and you see Ward, his eyes in the backfield, and he says, instead of getting beat, I'm just going to try and tackle him. So a heads-up play by Ward, knowing that he was beat and just making it about a 15-yard penalty.
That was Alex Erickson who Ward was defending there, but a huge call and another penalty that the Browns will have to overcome. 1st and 10. And a fresh set of downs for Driscoll. A give here to Mixon, well played by that Cleveland defensive front. And this Browns defense has been awfully good this season.
Really has. In this game, the front seven has pretty much dominated before this drive. Stuffing the run. Greg Williams dialing up a few pressures in a row. And then on 3rd down, they have not been able to block anybody up front. So far in this game, the Browns continuing to play it with an aggressive nature and getting to Driscoll.
On 2nd and 9, Driscoll from the 50. That pass incomplete. Put it right through the hands of John Ross. To New York in an update, JB and Nate.
Patriots looking to clinch the East.
That's White. It's James White playing Walter White because he's breaking a bad 2-game losing streak by breaking free for the 27-yard TD. The Pats are up 14-0.
Spiro and Adam.
All right, Nate, I like that. Patriots with a winner, a tie, or a Miami loss or a tie would lock up that AFC East division for a 10th straight year. Hard to believe.
All right, 3rd and 9. Last time the Browns showed blitz, but then dropped out into coverage.
This time on 3rd and 9, that pass again thrown in Ross's direction. A little bit off that time, but probably one that Ross should have had.
Yeah, really a nice thought. Bill Lazor expecting pressure. Look at the jump that Myles Garrett gets off.
Was deflected at the line of scrimmage by Myles Garrett, and that made it a little bit more difficult for Ross.
Yeah, and Ross wasn't going to go anywhere. The Browns were all over it, but there's 2 plays there that Ross had a chance, maybe not was able to get any yards after the catch, but still balls that he should have caught.
Ross, their 9th overall pick last year, basically a rookie year that was a total loss, just 17 total snaps. As this punt will take a Browns bounce into the end zone. And Mayfield will company from the 20 when we come back. We're going to see what Mayfield has done his last 10 attempts. He's 10 of 15 on the game. 12th consecutive game for Mayfield with a touchdown pass. That's the 3rd best all-time start to an NFL career. Only Kurt Warner and Brad Johnson. As this stellar rookie campaign continues. Mayfield on the pass to get this drive started. And it is complete to Fells, who had the touchdown earlier. You know, we talked about Freddie Kitchens taking over for Todd Haley after he was let go. Kitchens had never called plays at any level, high school, college, certainly not the pros. 12 years as an NFL assistant, broke in with the Cowboys in 2006, 10 years under Bruce Arians, who mentored him in Arizona. And it just really is incredible how seamless this transition has been with Kitchens. He's really developed that bond so quickly with Mayfield and some of his young players. As Kitchens calls a run play here. Dunlap on the tackle. We'll see where the officials spot the football. It'll be a first down.
Yeah, Spiro, when it comes to Kitchens, and any coach for that matter, there's no magical scheme out there. And anytime somebody touts this scheme that's going to revolutionize football, it's not about that. It's simply, whether it's offense or defense, it's finding out what your players do well, what are their strengths, and putting them in a position to make plays. I mean, the plays that he's calling aren't any different than anybody else, but it's the way they're calling it and the way they've maximized what their players do well, and you've seen the offense just kind of take off.
On 1st and 10, Mayfield delivering from the gun here, and that is caught. That's Perriman. You know, he's kind of a no-nonsense guy. He's not a self-promoter, as this will be another first down for Cleveland. He said he doesn't believe in the word system. He said, my goals are simple. Keep my quarterback upright and put the ball in my playmaker's hands, and that has certainly worked for him in his first 6 games.
It's really amazing. You see a lot more protection-centered sets. They go max protection to get the ball downfield. They've really tried to protect their tackles, where they've had some issues at times this season, and they're throwing the ball down the field. And how about the job they've done of getting Denzel Perriman back and really a productive receiver in this offense, except Rashad Perriman.
There's Chubb breaking tackles. And the rookie showing the wheels inside Bengals territory. Darius Phillips on the tackle as Chubb gashes him for 20.
Pay attention to number 80 on the left, Jarvis Landry. I don't have a telestrator, but look at the downfield blocking. You see Chubb take it, and both receivers for Cleveland getting second-level blocks, and then the speed to outrun Sean Williams in the angle to get into that secondary. Such a great instinctive feel, much like Joe Mixon when he's able to break into the next level.
He is outgaining the entire Cincinnati offense. Just about a 2-1 margin so far. He'll get a breather here with Duke Johnson on the field. And Johnson takes the direct snap. Little trickery from Kitchens. Bengals able to recover. Sam Hubbard, who has had a fantastic rookie season for Marvin Lewis, the 3rd-round pick out of Ohio State, was there. And that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing when we see these plays and, you know, they work and they're, you know, able to execute the reverse pass, and all of a sudden the offensive coordinator's a genius.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart. Light up Christmas at Walmart. And by Fisher Investments.
Oh, it's fun to be a Browns fan again. What a run it's been for these Browns. Winners in 4 of their last 5 games. Most wins in a season since 2014. Here's Johnson able to duck inside the Bengals' 25-yard line, and that will be another Cleveland first down. A reminder, stay here. The Verizon Halftime Report comes your way next. JB, Phil, Nate Boomer, and Coach Cower will be along with all the latest NFL scores and highlights. It's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. The injured Bengal is Vontaze Burfict, who has just had a very frustrating year with the injuries. Out the last 2 games with a concussion. Back in 30 seconds after this from Pepsi. Well, there's Burfict able to walk to the sideline in his own power. Started the year with the 4-game suspension. Missed a couple of games with a hip. Last 2 weeks with a concussion. Hit here by his own guy. And you see him land awkwardly. It was Sam Hubbard, and that left leg kind of just crunched underneath him. Burfict, such an integral piece of this defense. Just can't seem to get right. Mayfield's pass here on first down high, but it's caught anyway by Higgins. And that's what you want to do for your rookie quarterback. Help him out. What a play here by Higgins. Well, here was Burfict coming off the field, begrudgingly. Well, certainly frustrating. Just the kind of year it's been for Vontaze in this defense. And it looks like he will now head into the Bengals locker room. We'll try to get an update as quickly as we can. 8th play of the drive for Cleveland. Here's Chubb as he is brought down right around the 20-yard line. You know, the other thing that Kitchen said about Mayfield is his best attribute, Adam, his relentlessness, the desire that this kid has to be great, has really galvanized this entire team.
Yeah, and you can see it just in the way he plays. Not affected by negative plays. Now, you know, throwing it to the other side, right now if you're Marvin Lewis, you've got to get off this field on 3rd and 7. You cannot allow Cleveland to get a chance to score 6 or 7 points on this drive, and they haven't been able to get pressure. I truly believe that you have to pressure Mayfield and make him get rid of the ball.
Browns have all 3 of their timeouts left. Want to run that clock down here, 20 seconds and counting. And that clock's still running here. Adam, a little bit surprised at how much time they've let run off the clock here. We'll take a timeout. Finally will the Browns, and we'll break back in 30 seconds after this from Progressive Insurance. Another reminder to keep it here. The Verizon halftime report comes your way. JB and the crew standing by in New York. So Greg Williams allows that clock to get down to 14 seconds. And Greg Joseph on for the chip shot field goal, and he is right down Broadway. This is Greg Williams, 4-2 since taking over as their interim head coach. Well, if they're able to win out, Adam, they will have gone 6-2 under his watch. And then, of course, the big decision that Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, will make with John Dorsey at the end of the season in terms of who will be the head coach long term. But Williams will have made a very strong case for himself.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's no telling exactly what's going to happen with the organization. But, I mean, you can only, the best job interview is, you know, how well of a job you actually do doing the job. And with the way this football team has responded, playing more consistently and better than I can remember any Cleveland team playing for that matter, I think there's no doubt that you really have to assess and take seriously what Williams and the rest of this staff has done here since they've taken over.
And just what he's done with the defense since taking over. Inherited one of the worst defenses in the league. A secondary that was all messed up. It has turned around the unit and transformed them. They're now doing it as their interim head coach, hoping to stick around long term as their head man in charge. This is fiery a personality as there is in the sport. Someone you know very well, played under him in Washington.
Well, whatever it is that they've done, and you kind of hear, you know, different people around the organization talk, is, you know, it's the word no nonsense comes up, and they are just focused 100% about football and have eliminated all distractions around their training facility.
So Driscoll takes a knee in a frustrating offensive half of the Bengals here in Cleveland. 16-0 Browns as we reach halftime here in Cleveland. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station.
Want to stay up to date? Hey Siri, show me the football schedule.
Happy holidays from Cleveland. A couple of days before Christmas. All Browns in that first half, and we saw some fireworks. How about the pass by Jarvis Landry? Had completed one pass previously in his career. It was a 9-yard pickup. This one went for 63. Off the field to Rashad Perriman, who very quickly has become a deep down the field threat from Mayfield, and it turns out Jarvis Landry, Spiro Adidas, and Adam Archuleta. By the way, Adam's neckwear again provided by his beautiful 4-year-old daughter Piper. Nicely done by Piper today. What did you see in the first half?
Well, I saw a Browns football team that in their first drive had some penalties that set them back, but after that, I mean, they've been running the ball extremely well with Chubb, and Baker Mayfield has been sensational.
Look at some of the first half numbers. Cincinnati will have to climb out of a 16-point hole, and look at the passing yards, -15. Nicely done by this Cleveland defense.
Yeah, the Bengals and Jeff Driscoll have really had a hard time navigating third downs. Early in the game, they couldn't handle all of the different pressure looks that they were seeing from Greg Williams' defense, and really up front have been just getting swarmed by the Cleveland front seven.
Bengals able to snap their 5-game losing streak last week with that victory over the Raiders, but they will miss the playoffs for a 3rd straight year. And we know about the Browns. No longer in playoff contention as of last night, but some kind of a run. 4 wins in their last 5 games. They're 4-2 since Greg Williams took over. Here comes Jeff Driscoll again, only his 4th start since taking over after Andy Dalton went down with that thumb injury. Driscoll taking over week 13 in that Denver game, and a whole lot of nothing in that first half.
Really hasn't been much of an opportunity. I mean, he's only thrown the ball 6 times. 2 of those were for completion, so just not a lot of opportunity to throw the ball.
Looks like maybe a miscommunication on that fake handoff to Mixon, and Driscoll takes a hard hit, harder than certainly Marvin Lewis wanted him to take there. Emmanuel Ogbah and Jabril Peppers on the tackle. Just not a lot of experience for this kid Driscoll. He had only made 5 appearances in his career before taking over for Dalton, Adam, in week 13, and then you're throwing all the key injuries. Of course, no A.J. Green, no Tyler Boyd as of today. After Mixon, just not a lot of experience.
It's not. This is not an easy game here for Bill Lazor, Marvin Lewis, and Jeff Driscoll on offense.
Driscoll under center, and Mixon is absolutely blown up. Larry Ogunjobi, what a story he has been, playing with a partially torn left bicep. Heard it back in week 13, showing some incredible toughness.
Right over the middle, and he has been exceptional this year. Just another assignment bust from the Cincinnati offensive line. I mean, he goes right up inside, and neither Billy Price or Alex Redmond
Illegal
pick him up.
substitution, 12 players in the offensive huddle. 5-yard penalty remains, 3rd down.
And it goes from bad to worse for Marvin Lewis and the Bengals.
Yeah, right now the Bengals on offense, they look disorganized. They look like they're not ready for a lot of things that the Browns defense are showing them. And that last play, on a simple run play for both the center and guard to completely drop a nose tackle for a tackle for a loss is not acceptable.
So Matt Langle was the tight end trying to get off the field for Cincinnati. So 3rd and 17 after the penalty. Driscoll protected well. This time, and that pass is complete. First catch of the day for Cody Core. Making the start today for Boyd, who's out with the MCL sprain in his knee. And Core, who had just 11 catches entering the day, picks up 27 and a first down.
Really nicely done on 3rd and long. They keep both backs in for protection, and that allows Driscoll for time. So the back row of the defense were playing soft because of the long yardage, and the pressure wasn't able to get there. So that allows Core to uncover in a wide open spot in the field, and a nice accurate pass from Driscoll.
3rd year in the league for Core, the former 6th-round pick out of Mississippi. They desperately need him to start producing. And look, injuries are part of every team's season, but the injuries to key players that the Bengals have had this year have just decimated this team. Of course, Dalton, the thumb injury, going down about 4 weeks ago. Then A.J. Green, 2nd time hurting that foot, ending his season, undergoing surgery for the first time in his life. And then Tyler Boyd last week, who really had picked up the slack for Green. Another massive loss.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd having a breakout season, but that's, it's just too much to overcome. And that is a massive amount of production and experience that the Bengals don't have.
Dalton going down in the first meeting against these Browns back in week 12. Driscoll on 2nd and 6. Well covered. Here's Mixon out of the backfield. Well, you knew the game plan today for Greg Williams and this defense would be pretty basic as the Bengals pick up the first down. Stop Mixon as a ball carrier and just make Driscoll beat you. And so far, so good. But Mixon showing his ability as a pass catcher.
Last two passes that we've seen from Driscoll, he's had a clean pocket. And there hasn't been immediate pressure in his face. And so you've seen him be able to now have a little bit of time to know what the coverage is and deliver the football on time and in the right spot.
By far the best looking drive for Cincinnati today. Mixon unable to break the initial tackle, and it's Avery. What a game this kid's putting together for the Browns. Well, we mentioned the injuries for Cincinnati, and they continue to pile up. Vontaze Burfict left the game late in the first half. He is dealing with a concussion, so he is out for the rest of the day. And Dre Kirkpatrick has also been downgraded to out with a shoulder injury.
How about Avery? I mean, this kid's having a heck of a game today. He easily beats the block of the tight end, and that's the second time today on an outside run to his side he's been able to make the play in the backfield.
Looks like Bobby Hart may have moved prematurely.
False start. Offense, number 68. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
You haven't seen many of those this year from the Cincinnati offense, have you? It's been an epidemic for Marvin Lewis's offensive line.
The injury news that we just mentioned, Burfict, who has really had a frustrating season, the suspension, the hip, have been out the last 2 games with a concussion. He's dinged again. And we just hope that Burfict is going to be okay. Of course, so much focus on the head injuries, as they will keep him in the locker room for the rest of the day. 2nd and 18. Driscoll on a pump fake. Barely escapes the grasp of Garrett. Certainly his best attribute to this point has been his scrambling ability. Nowhere to go with the football down the field, and it will be 3rd down for Cincinnati.
This is another great job by Myles Garrett. This is a 4-man rush, again in a long yardage situation. Garrett to his right, and it looked like just a little bit Cordy Glenn might have gotten away with taking off early, but Garrett's able to apply the quick pressure. Driscoll has to scramble, and he got a 3rd and long. Now the last 3rd and long was a soft zone from Williams. Something tells me he's going to try and force the issue here and send pressure.
Here they come. Well covered by the Bengals, and that pass by Driscoll nearly picked off the hands of Avery. He's done just about everything else today for this Browns defense.
Pressure here, and then Avery, who has been blitzing, now is going to drop off in coverage. So he has been all over the place. Attack number 55 in coverage, zone pressure, and he's got great eyes, and it looked like either TJ Carey, I don't know who's going to blame each other, but one of those guys could have picked it, and one could have broken up the interception.
So this Browns defense, Greg Williams, his son Blake taking over play calling duties. What a job they continue to do as their fair catch just inside the 15-yard line by Jabril Peppers. Well, this kid Avery, not bad for a 5th-round pick out of Memphis, doing everything for the Browns. Here comes Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns, 16-0. Mayfield just over 100 yards passing in that first half. He has led the Browns to scores on their last 3 drives. What do they do here as they begin just outside their own 10-yard line to the air? And that is Higgins on the catch. We've seen some errant throws, Arch, so far from Mayfield, but starting to put something together.
Not many. Look at that. 14 of 19. 2 touchdowns, no interception. And just think about how he has played at home. His last 2 games, 83% completions, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So he is finding the confines of the dog pounds quite comfortable in his young career.
180. What's that?
Here's Chubb. Well, how'd you like to be Baker Mayfield in Cleveland? Here you are, the #1 overall pick, all the record losing for this franchise the last couple of years, and suddenly the tables have turned because of you. He's told us it's kind of been tough to go out sometimes in public. Him and his fiancee Emily have to usually sit in the back room. But we know how boisterous this fan base is. He loves it, loves the energy that he gets on the street.
Yeah, he keeps
this town has fallen head over heels.
He keeps this up, and he's going to find out what it's like to be a member of the Beatles, because he will be the Browns version of Paul McCartney.
Talked about just how special and emotional it would be if and when he's able to get them into the playoffs. They'll just narrowly miss out this year. But so the future is certainly bright for Mayfield and his franchise. A couple of pump fakes here going far side of the field, and it is caught. What a snatch by Landry. First down, Cleveland, a pickup of 19.
Well, Jarvis Landry at the top of the screen. And initially, everything is covered up. But wow, what ball placement. And then Landry, I mean, right there. Landry, with not much room on the sideline, is able to pluck the ball out of the air and come down with a catch. That's one thing you really notice about Mayfield is it doesn't matter if he's covered, but if he sees the back of your numbers in man coverage, he's going to throw it to your man, and more often than not, it's on the money.
There's Duke Johnson cutting back a couple of times. And look at Johnson moving that pile. Turns out to be a nice little pickup. As you hear the chants of Duke, quickly a fan favorite here in Cleveland. Mayfield, by the way, has tied his career high with 13, make it 14 straight completions, as that is a new personal career mark for Mayfield.
A lot of those have been in pretty tight coverage so far. And so the Bengals playing a lot more man coverage in this game, but their defensive backs haven't been able to make plays on the football, and they still aren't getting much pressure on Mayfield up front.
It's Nick Chubb resetting from the top of your picture. Here's the rookie, gaping hole up the middle. Inside Bengals territory, you have to wonder about the fatigue now of the Cincinnati defense without Vontaze Burfict, Nick Vigil, Sean Williams on the tackle, but they've been on the field a bunch.
How about the former Bengal right guard, Kevin Zeitler, with free access to get up on the linebacker. And also a great job by the right tackle, Chris Hubbard. Zeitler doesn't give him any help inside, but he's able to seal off the defensive end so that Zeitler can climb up on a linebacker, and that's where the big hole came from for Chubb.
Some more misdirection. This is Dontrell Hilliard. First time we've called his number today. The rookie undrafted free agent out of Tulane picks up 15 yards, and everyone getting in on the party.
Well, it's amazing. We kind of talked about it earlier, how much success the Browns have had with Freddie Kitchens on misdirection. And, you know, a lot of times, coordinators, it's kind of funny. You dial all these misdirections, and when it works, you look like a genius. But when it gets stuff, everybody's saying, well, why are you calling that play? But so far, when he's been able to use misdirection, the Browns have come through with big plays in the second part of the season.
The one play called here to Chubb. You know, Kitchens had never called plays at any level, as we told you. Told you the story of how he broke into the league in 2006 with the Cowboys. He got a random call. He was an assistant at Mississippi State, saw a message light blinking on his phone one night. Listened to the message. It was Bill Parcells saying he wanted to talk to him about a job. Kitchens had no connection to Parcells, had never met him. Thought nothing of it, thought one of his buddies was playing a trick on him. Next morning, he's on the way to work. Phone call rings again. It's Parcells telling him he wants to talk to him about a job, needed an offensive assistant in Dallas. Kitchens was on the first plane to the Lone Star State and had an incredible one-year experience on Parcells' staff there in 06. Mayfield back to the end zone, and it's incomplete. Trying to get it to Perriman. Broken up, nicely done by Darius Phillips, the rookie out of Western Michigan.
It really is a nice play, and finally somebody makes a play on the football. He's in great position, and he just plays the pocket. What I mean by that is he plays the hands of Perriman, and as soon as his hands go up for the football, he reaches his right arm in there and is able to break up that pass.
Phillips getting a chance today with Kivari Russell and Tony McRae both out due to injury. McRae out again with a concussion. And so a thin Cincinnati secondary, even thinner.
They've got to find a way to put pressure on Mayfield.
On 3rd and 4, little sidearm delivery, it's Higgins. Higgins inside the 5, lunging, touchdown. A Herculean effort by Higgins for the Browns touchdown.
Really well done by Cleveland. Mayfield recognizing the coverage, and that was just a bust by the secondary. What an extension, and that ball goes inside the what a play. Oh, by Higgins. Initially, a great job of Mayfield spotting the coverage, quickly getting it out to Higgins, and then Higgins does the rest.
Third touchdown pass from Mayfield, but that was all Higgins. Incredible effort to get the Browns back in the end zone. It is a party in Cleveland. All Browns on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Farmers Insurance, Pizza Hut, official pizza sponsor of the NFL, and by Kay Jewelers, for all the moments, for love, forever.
Well, plenty of holiday cheer here in Cleveland. Temperatures dipping here into the 30s. Off Lake Erie, late wind. And all Browns up 23-0 as they look to sweep the Cincinnati Bengals for the first time in an awfully long time. Alex Erickson with a nice little return, able to cross the 30. Arch, take us back to the touchdown.
Well, this is outstanding. You're going to see Mayfield. He sees that it's blitz. So he's going to go to his audible, and this is such a well-designed play. These two players have these two players in coverage. But Jarvis Landry, he's just going to shield him. But he doesn't block until the ball is thrown. So he goes upfield, and the Bengals completely unprepared. That all started at the line of scrimmage for Mayfield, seeing what the coverage is and audibling to the perfect play.
And again, we talked about his getting so comfortable at the line of scrimmage, the audible that he called in Denver early in the fourth quarter last week that led to their go-ahead score. And that has continued. Driscoll able to go right back into the direction of Core, who's brought down at the 40. Nicely done by Driscoll. Last time the Browns swept the season series against the Bengals all the way back to 2002. But at times they are changing here in Cleveland.
It is, and you know, we've noted it that the Bengals aren't at full strength, and that certainly plays a huge impact here in this game. But this is a great learning experience and a great learning opportunity for Jeff Driscoll as he tries to develop into a quality quarterback.
Mixon able to duck and lunge ahead just outside the 41. And that will be a Cincinnati first down. We go back to New York. James Brown and Nate.
Coach need to win out and get some help for the postseason, Nate.
Well, here you go. Andrew Luck hits Dontrell Inman in the end zone for a 2-yard TD, but the Giants still have the lead, 17-14.
Back to Spiro and Adam.
Well, the Giants have been a bit of a surprise team last couple of weeks. Some impressive performances. How about that game last night? Baltimore with that run game and the defense getting a huge win on the road in LA against the Chargers. Timeout taken here by Cincinnati. Well, there's 33-year-old Blake Williams, son of Greg. Now the defensive play caller since the shakeup in the coaching staff in late October. Greg has always been effusive in his praise of his son, but Blake has proven that he belongs. He's his own man. He's such a smart guy, Princeton graduate, played defensive back as an Ivy Leaguer for the Tigers. As this is C.J. Uzama on the catch. But Blake kind of stepping out from his father's shadow here with what he's doing with this defense.
Yeah, great opportunity, and the defense has been lights out. They have played some really good football, and I keep going back to this. You know, in the last 6 games, you've seen everybody, not just the defense, but the offense, has played with a lot of confidence, and it looks like they're really having a lot of fun out there, which is really pretty rare considering the head coach was fired.
And 2nd and 1. Looks like the Bengals and Mixon will have enough for the first down. So let's see what Driscoll can put together here. Obviously a tough set of circumstance for even a veteran quarterback with the injuries that we've discussed. Of course, not a ton of practice time before taking over for Dalton in week 13.
Still not a lot of passing attempts. He's only thrown the ball 11 times, and as we saw early in the game, there was just no time. They just did not do a good job of handling the pressure of the Browns. But you've seen here when he's had a clean pocket and he's had time to get the ball out, he was able to make some nice throws.
Driscoll, a lot of velocity on that pass. It's caught. That's Erickson. Very close to the Cleveland 40-yard line. Driscoll came into the league as a 6th-round pick of San Francisco. Failed to make the team that first year. Claimed days later by Cincinnati. And Marvin thought so highly of him that he kept him as a 3rd quarterback behind Andy Dalton and A.J. McCarron that first year. And finally getting another chance, and his first real chance to show what he could do as an NFL starter. Grew up in the Orlando suburbs, actually a childhood friend of Blake Bortles. He's a terrific baseball prospect as Mixon shot out of a cannon. Getting downhill close to the Cleveland 20-yard line. Cincinnati putting together its best drive of the day, a pickup of 20.
Yep, and it starts here, the down block by the right guard, Alex Redmond. They get everybody, watch the defensive line, everybody is moving to his right, and because of that little seam, Chris Smith, the defensive end, gets upfield. You get a wash with the block down by Redmond, and that's what allows Mixon to get up to the secondary.
We've had to do a lot of shuffling of this offensive line with the injuries. Cordy Glenn back in the lineup today. Returned last week from that back injury that forced him to miss 3 games. Driscoll's pass up the seam and incomplete. Uzama trying to one-arm it. Jabril Peppers was there on the coverage, and Peppers, after a rookie season that was kind of up and down, is putting together just a fantastic sophomore season.
Yeah, the comfort in which he plays is so evident. He played 80% of his snaps as a free safety back deep, 15, 20 yards deep last season. But that's not his game. He is a football player, and as he creeps towards the line of scrimmage, it's like a whole new world. It's like going to Disneyland. He's able to be at his best and wreak havoc on the game.
Here they come again. Quick release. Bernard on the catch, and it's guess who? Peppers.
Aggressively in the slot. Peppers sees it, and he reads it so fast, he just comes up and he beats the block. And that's what I'm talking about. I can relate to a guy like Peppers, a guy that you put me deep, I don't really feel confident, but when you get me up near the line of scrimmage, and you can blitz me, and you allow me to play the run, and you allow me to move around, now all of a sudden we can start to make things happen, and Peppers really starting to make an impact and be a top defender.
We remember you as a mean, nasty safety in the box. What a talent leveled by Peppers. Driscoll escapes initially, and then he is buried. Larry Ogunjobi bringing the heat. Jabril Peppers also is there as we reach the end of the 3rd on CBS. No 4th and a country mile for Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati, so he sends out his field goal kicker, Randy Bullock, to try to get them their first points. It'll be a 51-yard attempt. Bullock has had some moments in a game winner against the Bucs back in Week 8. And this kick on target, and it is good. Well done by Bullock, the 7th-year kicker out of Texas A&M, to get him their first points.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Microsoft Surface. And by State Farm, here to help life go right.
Oh, what a crew we have here at CBS. Some of the very best in the business. Don Miller, Sean Mahan, Ann Smith, Jonathan Dale, Jay Will, Tony Tosta, Jean Marie Martin. So many men and women that bring you these pictures each and every week, braving the elements. And some of the very best and brightest in our business. Special thanks and happy holidays to everyone here from Cleveland.
Well, a little insight into Peppers. Now, Peppers is not supposed to blitz here. This is Mixon, is his man. But as Mixon goes to make the block, Peppers turns it into a blitz. So now you have an extra player, a 2-on-1 on the quarterback, and Driscoll doesn't have enough time to spot the open receiver coming open over the middle. So those little details of understanding the game and then playing confidently and aggressively is what you get when number 22 plays down like a linebacker.
Well, Peppers, of course, had his coming out party last week. That incredible interception in the end zone. Athletic play, and then the game-sealing sack of Case Keenum on that 4th down play. As Mayfield and company looking to extend their lead. But this was the play we just mentioned. Some of the theatrics by this kid Peppers, who is just so much athleticism and talent.
Yeah, all-out blitz at the end of the game, and at first glance it looks like he was scot-free and there was nobody to block him, but it was because he understood the protection of the offensive line, and he changed the course of the blitz to be able to come free. And those are the types of things that Williams can do with Peppers now, as he's really starting to find himself and come into his own as a versatile weapon on the defense.
Mayfield play action. Goes underneath here to the tight end Fells, who had the touchdown catch in the first half. You think about what John Dorsey has done. We mentioned Dorsey earlier. Peppers with the up-and-down rookie season, but now starting to come into his own. Unbelievable drafts for this front office in Cleveland in the last 2 years.
Yeah, they really, this year, they've really hit the ball out of the park. And you've got to really look towards the future as being extremely bright, with a lot of draft capital in the next season and making a lot of the right moves.
Mayfield on 1st and 10, going to take a shot. And throwing that one behind Antonio Callaway and incomplete. And you think of what Dorsey has done now with Denzel Ward named a Pro Bowl starter. Dorsey has now drafted a rookie who's gone on to the Pro Bowl each year since 2015. For a lot of people around the country, Dorsey is the best talent evaluator, Adam, in the NFL.
Hey, you can only go by the results.
Dorsey, of course, this last draft. But just an incredible run. And Dorsey, of course, going back to his days in Kansas City, rebuilding that team with Andy Reid, a Chiefs team that is right at the top of the AFC playoff picture. This is Chubb on a little underneath pass from Mayfield. You think about what the hierarchy was here, Adam, for a number of years. Sashi Brown and Paul DePodesta, the baseball background, a whole Moneyball approach. They certainly have cleaned things up, and Dorsey, certainly one of the unsung heroes for how they've rebuilt this team and the big decision that he'll have to make at the end of the season in terms of his head coach.
Yeah, but it wasn't all bad. I know the previous regime, they took a lot of heat and for the way they constructed the roster, but they did stockpile a lot of draft picks, and they did clear up a lot of cap space. Now,
Sure.
They decimated the roster 2 years ago or last season, but they paved the way. But they did some good things to set this team up for the future.
Mayfield's going to try to run for it. Needed the 46, and he has it. We've seen the arm talent, and Mayfield showing the wheels as he sets up a fresh set of downs for Cleveland.
Well, 3rd down again has kind of been the riddle. Now everybody is covered down the field, and Mayfield sees that there's nobody there to replace. And so he easily just goes upfield, gets into the secondary, and is able to pick up the 1st down. It's just, the inability, I think, in this game, they've been tighter in coverage, speaking about the Bengal defense, but the inability to put pressure and force Baker into making quick decisions has been the difference in this game.
Mayfield gunning it. Going right back to Landry, who's now inside Cincinnati territory. Tackled on the play by Sean Williams. As this Bengals defense playing the rest of this game without Vontaze Burfict, who, if you've just joined us, left with a concussion earlier. Burfict missing the last 2 games with a concussion. Bengals defense that has been a whole lot better in the 5 weeks since Marvin Lewis took over. But just not much help from their offense today. We haven't heard this stadium this loud for a December game in an awfully long time here in Cleveland. Mayfield trying to go back shoulder. Surgical. Johnson on the catch. 16 yards and a Cleveland 1st down.
Yeah, Brandon Wilson is asking himself, what else can I do? I mean, look at that throw. Again, numbers. Mayfield sees the back of his jersey, and I just don't know how you put that ball anywhere else. I mean, this is unbelievable. And Johnson is able to adjust on the sideline, but what a throw. Unreal.
Mayfield has him salivating here in Cleveland. On first down to the airways again. It's Perriman on the catch, and now they say incomplete. For once again, perfectly thrown pass by Mayfield, but Perriman just ran out of real estate.
Really well thrown, but really well played by William Jackson, because he was able to squeeze Perriman to the sideline. You know, Mayfield throws the ball in the only place that he can, but because there's not enough sideline, then Perriman's not able to come down in bounds. But that was made by Jackson doing a really nice job at the line of scrimmage and widening Perriman to the sideline.
Hey, 5-9.
Jackson, the former 24th overall pick by Cincinnati back in 2016. Mayfield faking the handoff and then finding Chubb out of the backfield. Well played by Cincinnati as Chubb is brought down by Jesse Bates. And it will be third down coming up.
We saw pressure on that last snap from Marvin Lewis. And again, I've been calling for it a little bit this game. I still think they need to bring some pressure. They did get hurt on their last touchdown when Mayfield saw it and made the audible. But they've got to be able to get to him and make him get the ball out of his hands. That's what Denver did last week. They disguised their coverage, they brought pressure, and they forced him to throw the ball before he was ready.
These fans want more from Baker. 3rd and 8. Mayfield protected well again. Everyone covered down the field, so he's going to run for it. Needs the 18, extends, does he have it? And now players have to be separated quickly. Mayfield is right in the center of it, trying to keep his guys composed. There's a lot of bad blood between these two teams. Browns players didn't appreciate some of the trash talking by Cincinnati before that last meeting 4 weeks ago in Cincinnati. And look at Baker trying to get him fired up. Carlos Dunlap was right in the thick of it for Cincinnati as well. Now a chance of Baker here in Cleveland.
Soft coverage again. Look at the job the offensive line does. Unbelievable job of picking up the gains and the twist from the Bengals. And everybody is deep in coverage, and Baker Mayfield sees the open lane and just takes off.
And you think they value their quarterback safety? Look at everyone come to Mayfield's defense. Dunlap just couldn't kind of get his weight off him quickly enough for the Browns liking.
Yeah, but you got to be smart. You know, we've seen this before. You can't do anything to get you thrown out of the game. You protect your teammates, you know, be there, have his back, but you still have to be available for the rest of the game.
By the way, an incredible block down the field on that play by Jarvis Landry to spring Mayfield free. We'll see what Tony Correnti says here. The play clock was at 6. Looks like a challenge flag has been thrown here, perhaps to challenge the spot. Marvin Lewis wants them to take another look at this. And so Marvin perhaps was given some guidance from his coaches upstairs.
Cincinnati is challenging the ruling on the field of progress is related to a first down.
All right, another look. Mayfield needed the 18. We'll see if they uphold that next. Marvin Lewis challenging the spot. The call on the field was upheld, so it is a Browns first down. So Cincinnati charged with their second timeout. Kind of a wild play. Initially, the officials looking for the spot, and then they had to go clean up and restore order with that little mini scuffle that broke out along the Brown sideline. So fresh set of downs for Mayfield in Cleveland from the Bengals 18. Mayfield will throw across his body, back in the end zone, too high and incomplete. Intended for Njoku, and the flag comes in
Holding
late.
Offense, number 78. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
All right, let's bring in our rules analyst, Gene Steratore. Gene, take us through that last sequence.
You made a great point, Sparrow. You can see the official covering the play, sees that quarterback didn't step out of bounds. He's really, the spot, although very important for him, this action now becomes much more important. So there is an official on the line of scrimmage. It's at the bottom of our screen that would be holding that spot as it relates to a first down. So once they cleared the mess out of bounds, that official that's out of our screen at the opposite side of the field would be holding that spot. And he did help that official in spotting it. I think they did it all very well.
All right, Gene Steratore, our rules analyst from New York. Thank you, Gene. Set the valve here on the catch. Well played by Hardy Nickerson, who's getting another chance to start today with some of the injuries that they've had. No Jordan Evans, as we touched on at the top, out with an ankle injury. Brandon Bell, little used Penn State undrafted first-year kid, also making a start. Nicely done there by Nickerson.
Yeah, I think for the Bengals, again, they haven't made the plays. So when it comes to your make the play grade, when they've been in position, it's been the Browns that have made the play. And I also think that you've got to give a lot of credit to the Browns offensive line with how they've been able to deal with guys like Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap.
Boy, that Mayfield pass dangerously was deflected in the air. Big Carlos Dunlap with that 6'6" frame, able to get his hand on it, and it will be 3rd and 19.
Hey, you think with his history and the way he's able to knock down balls throughout his career, you know, any short passing to that side, to his side, you've got to be extremely careful. He is so good at it. Not only his body type, but it's the way he's able to time it up.
Still chanting Baker's name here in Cleveland. Well within the field goal range of their kicker, Greg Joseph, who actually missed one earlier. Mayfield throwing across his body again. It's caught. Another tight window to Landry. Still well short of the first down marker, so we'll see what Greg Williams does here. Up 20.
That's really, I mean, that's, wow, that's pretty unbelievable.
Across his body arch on the run.
I mean, some of these throws on the sideline are just ridiculous. And how about, you know, Landry, not quite the production that he had in the first half of the year, but when they've needed somebody to make a play, he's usually right there in the middle of it. Not only catching the ball, but great day blocking on the edge.
And how about that 63-yard pass earlier in the game by Landry? 4 catches for Landry, 47 yards, as Joseph, the rookie kicker, atoning for the earlier miss. And it's 26-3 Cleveland.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by PlayStation. Greatness awaits. KFC, it's finger licking good. And by Honda. Hurry into the Happy Honda Days sales event today.
What a day it's been for Nick Chubb. Now most rushing yards ever by Browns rookie. Passes Trent Richardson and the great Jim Brown. And again, you consider the fact that he was buried behind Carlos Hyde the first 6 weeks of the season. Just makes his production that much more impressive. Here's Erickson. Runs into his own man at the 25-yard line. And that is where Cincinnati will begin. Well, second portion of our day coming up. A huge game with playoff implications. The Steelers with a victory, one step closer to the postseason. And if New Orleans prevails, they can wrap up the #1 seed in the NFC. But things getting a whole lot more interesting with the Ravens win at the Chargers last night. So even more pressure on the Steelers.
How about those Ravens? I mean, it is, I can't believe it. The way they are playing right now. Oh, what a scary football team. What a story. And how about Pittsburgh? I mean, I think Pittsburgh is still one of the top teams. They certainly deserve to be one of the top 6 teams in the AFC, but if they don't win, then all of a sudden they don't get in, which is pretty unbelievable as well.
Yeah, there was actually talk that maybe John Harbaugh was on his way out in Baltimore. He gets the contract extension, and the Ravens suddenly are a serious contender. How about that pass by Driscoll? Dropping a dime to Alex Erickson. Can't get a much tighter window than that.
Boy, that was a beauty.
Pickup of 28.
That was outstanding. Now, Driscoll does throw a nice seam ball, but the guy who was catching all those seams down the middle was Tyler Boyd. He's not in the lineup, and one of the few times they do go downfield, Erickson comes down with the ball.
Driscoll hands off here to Mixon, who's had a struggle of an afternoon against this Cleveland defensive front. Jannard Avery on the tackle. You know, we were mentioning some of the young Cleveland players. We do want to be clear. John Dorsey responsible for just their last draft. Talked about him drafting a Pro Bowl rookie each of the last 4 years. The 2 previous years going back to his days in Kansas City. And so they have built something very special here with these Browns. Driscoll, fresh set of downs. And this run play, Mixon is blown up again by that Browns defense.
You know what's refreshing about this upcoming draft is they don't have to wonder who they're going to draft at quarterback.
Right.
There's no quarterback evaluations. And that's really what you think about with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, decades of not being able to find the right guy, but it's got to be a great feeling as they, no playoffs, but as they head into this offseason, a lot of bright lights ahead.
And that eternal search for a quarterback appears to be over here. Here's Driscoll trying to turn some heads over these final couple of weeks of the season. Nicely done there to C.J. Uzomah. Of course, the Bengals have been just decimated at the tight end position. Looks like Denzel Ward is shaken up here. Ward back after missing the last 2 games with a concussion. Oh boy. Just a nasty collision here with C.J. Uzomah, who's coming with about 265 pounds of muscle there.
And remember in the preseason, Greg Williams called out Ward for his tackling, and it's because of that stuff right there. Ward is not a big guy, and so he's got to be able to go low and whack him. And what I mean by a whack is just chop him down at the legs, because he can't take that kind of punishment.
I hope he's okay. He's being evaluated now in that blue medical tent. Driscoll to the end zone. Back corner, it's caught. What a grab by Uzomah for the touchdown.
Wow.
So finally Cincinnati able to get into the end zone. And you can't do it much better than that than Driscoll.
Yeah, on this drive, the Bengal receivers and tight ends are doing what the Browns have been doing all game. Pepper's in really good shape, but a really well-placed ball. And because of where Peppers is, there's no way he has a chance at that. And what an effort by Uzomah to get airborne and then bring that thing down. So we saw a great throw and catch, a seam route to Alex Erickson, and then another beauty for their first touchdown of the game to Uzomah.
Uzomah started the year as the number 3 tight end, but the Bengals lost Tyler Eifert, that gruesome ankle dislocation. And Tyler Croft went down with the foot as Uzomah gets him their first touchdown on CBS. 3rd touchdown catch of the season for C.J. Uzomah to get Cincinnati into the end zone for the first time today. 4:56. Final 4 and change here in Cleveland. Spiro Vitas, Adam Marchelletta, rest of our fantastic CBS crew. And a city that has been re-energized with these young upstart Cleveland Browns. Oh, we continue our countdown to Super Bowl 53 here on CBS. Another stroll down memory lane. 1994, Steve Young, the Super Bowl record in Miami. 6 touchdown passes as the 49ers would steamroll over the Chargers. 1994, also the last season in which the Browns won a playoff game. It's a wild card victory under Bill Belichick before he became the legend that he is. And you see the consecutive seasons without a playoff win. 27 years and counting for Cincinnati. Going to try to run that clock down, Chubb. And of course, you know, look, Marvin Lewis's future will continue to be a major talking point the next few weeks. 16 years, hired by the Brown family in 2003. Mike Brown, their owner, has stuck by Marvin despite 0 playoff wins in those 16 years.
Yeah, you know, the playoff record, and we go back to the Cleveland, you know, they didn't go to the playoffs, but they never had a quarterback. And so for Cincinnati, they have had Andy Dalton. And I go back to that 2015 season. This was a pretty good football team, but Dalton gets hurt at the end of the year, and then A.J. McCarron is really the guy that has to go out there and win a playoff game. I thought that was their year to really do something, but the catastrophic injury to Dalton kind of made that fall apart.
There was such an unfortunate timing to that injury, the fractured thumb for Dalton that cost him the end of that 15 season. But here he is, some pretty good names on that list. Mike McCarthy's name, of course, will be a big one in the offseason in terms of where potentially his landing spot will be. But you know, look, Marvin, one of the most respected coaches in the NFL. He's had some terrific teams with Cincinnati over the years, and we've been here before. You know, there have been years where there was speculation that Marvin could be on his way out. Beloved in that organization, and who knows what the future holds. Could very well be back.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting one to see exactly how the Brown family handles, you know, Marvin Lewis and who gets the job going forward. But I tell you, Marvin Lewis is a good football coach. The man understands football. He understands how to put a staff together. Your record is what your record is, and you can't lie with the results, but he's a good football coach.
Bengals taking their final timeout here, by the way, to stop the clock at 4:02. And Mayfield now from the gun on 3rd and 4. Mayfield's pass a little bit behind Landry and incomplete. You know, Lewis talked about, as Landry looks to be upset with himself, maybe kind of clutching at his left hand. But, you know, we talked about Lewis with him about the change taking over the defenses. You take another look at that attempt by Landry. Had to fire Terrell Austin as we touched on after week 9. So, you know, they've worked long hours as a staff. He's been in the office at around 5:30 in the morning. He's gotten home at around 11 o'clock at night. Of course, every coach in this league works long hours, but he actually got home early a couple of weeks ago and told us, as that punt is blocked. So a rare bright spot for the Bengals, as Colquitt's punt was just swallowed up by Clayton Fejedelem. Fejedelem had the successful fake punt earlier. Named the first Pro Bowl alternate as a special teamer, and he is showing why today.
Yeah, right up the gut, and it looked like Jabril Peppers, who is the fullback on special teams, took the wrong guy. The center goes to the right, and he's supposed to block Hubbard. And it looked as if Peppers didn't account for Fejedelem coming right open right over the middle. And for a team that has played with a lot of energy here for most of the game, this last few minutes of this game, the Browns have started to lose focus and have let the Bengals have some success.
Well, could the Bengals perhaps make this a little bit more interesting? Uzama on the catch. He's got lead blockers. And Uzama inside the 10-yard line. Brian Body Calhoun was there on the tackle. A pickup of 15. Bengals are out of timeout, so they have to hurry up to the line of scrimmage. Driscoll here from the gun, trying to get them back into the end zone. Here is Mixon. Full head of steam. As this Browns defense right now playing on its heels.
Yeah, it could get pretty interesting right now. I tell you what, that first play call of this drive was excellent from Bill Lazor, sensing that Williams was going to bring pressure and calling a screen to his tight end. And a nice run by Joe Mixon. And here you go, Driscoll set up inside the 5-yard line.
Driscoll evades the sack initially to the end zone. It's caught. John Ross for the touchdown. So the Bengals not going quietly. Ross with his 7th touchdown catch of the season. Hasn't had many catches in general. It's only his 20th catch of the year. 7 of them have been touchdowns.
That is an amazing catch to touchdown ratio. I mean, this is a speed guy, and all of his touchdowns have come in an area where he can't use his speed.
An easy decision here as they go for 2. If there was ever a time for John Ross to step into his potential, the time is now without A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd. We saw Hugh Jackson and that staff on the sideline.
Look for some sort of bootleg action or sprint out pass to allow Driscoll to use his legs.
Driscoll fakes to Mixon. Back of the end zone. It is caught. Core. So they convert for the 2-point try. And we've got an 8-point game here in Cleveland. Well, we have certainly seen crazier things happen. They'll need an onside kick, but it all started with the block by Fedulum.
Unbelievable, an assignment error, no attention to detail on your punt. A couple plays later, John Ross catches his touchdown. And then, again, you've got to make this play to have a chance to get back in it. And a really well-placed ball by Jeff Driscoll to now put the Bengals, wow, within 8. Unbelievable.
Well, give Jeff Driscoll and the Bengals all kinds of credit, but these are the kind of lapses that just drive a coach insane. Greg Williams, you don't need to fire him up anymore, but he has to be livid down on that Brown sideline. This game was over, and suddenly it's a one-score game. Wow. 2 scores if you count the 2-point try, but they are within striking distance as they elect to kick it away here. And will play the clock. Interesting as Antonio Callaway will run it out of bounds. So the Bengals are out of timeouts.
Yep.
And they will try to get Mayfield and Cleveland's offense off the field here with a 3-and-out as quickly as they can.
Yep, you've got 3 plays essentially because of the timeout situation to stop Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. So probably 2 plays will be ran before the 2-minute warning. And then about 40 or 50 seconds ran off the clock after the 2-minute warning. So that's what you've got to play with if you're Marvin Lewis. But if you want a chance to get back in this game, somebody's got to step up and make a play, especially among that front 4 and the defensive line. Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap. Somebody has to step up, get in the backfield and make a play.
And Cleveland's going to try to run it out here on the ground as Chubb, as we get a marker thrown from the Cincinnati secondary. Jordan Willis was there first for the Bengals.
Well, this is on the Browns. This is huge for Cincinnati.
Holding defense number 79. This 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the play and an automatic first down.
Well, that's Christian Ringo, one of their backup defensive tackles.
Ringo, number 79, is who they're going to call. And watch the right arm, and that is a good call. He gets the right arm on the right guard, Alex Redmond, and that's what frees up the linebacker to go in there and make the play. Excuse me, Kevin Zeitler.
So Lewis on the sideline with 2:46 left and counting. Chubb again. Obviously wants to stay in bounds. Michael Johnson giving chase for Cincinnati. And now valuable seconds will come off the clock. Another reminder to stay tuned. NFL Today update delivered by Pizza Hut. Time permitting. JB, Phil, Nate Boomer, and Coach Cower standing by with all the latest NFL scores and highlights. And just when you thought this game was over, Marvin Lewis and the Bengals with one last gasp.
And they still get a chance. They have to run a play here before the 2-minute warning.
The 1 second difference between the play clock and the game clock, but they will have to snap it. Run it down to 1. Mayfield throwing on the run, and it is caught. Boy, a very tight space to Njoku. It's a foot race. Njoku finally tracked down Nickerson and Denard. And how about the big fella showing the wheels? 65 yards on a catch and run by Njoku. And Cleveland putting this one on ice.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Forevermark. Discover the Forevermark Tribute Collection at forevermark.com. And by Bud Light, reminding you not to drink and ride your horse.
David Njoku, 66-yard catch and run to put the Browns in a position to take the final kneel downs and put this one on ice. And take a look at Baker Mayfield after this play, running right by Hugh Jackson on that Bengals sideline. He started to backpedal up the field and stared him down, Arch, for what felt like an eternity.
Oh, man, is Baker Mayfield something or what? I got to tell you, this guy, unbelievable. Unbelievable player. What a backbreaker, but a game of inches. And I don't know how that ball got into his tight end, Njoku, but unbelievable play to ice it.
The Cleveland Browns will get their 5th win in their last 6 games as this thing continues to build here in Cleveland. Coming up, bonus coverage. Giants up 6 as they play late stages in Indianapolis to try to throw another wrench in the postseason plans of an opposing team.
Unbelievable, too. I can't believe it. Indianapolis looking like one of the better teams in the league. It's an unbelievable December that we're dealing with right now. There's so much good stuff going on in the NFL. Great time to be a fan.
Greg Williams continues on what has been a terrific run since taking over for Hugh Jackson as those two embrace. Williams now 5-2 as their interim head coach, as Hugh exchanging pleasantries with a couple of members of the Cleveland staff. Browns get to 7-1 and more sweet revenge for Baker against his former head coach. Browns win it. Now for Adam Archuleta, Spiro Davis saying so long from Cleveland. Now the NFL Today update delivered by Pizza Hut.